Can go ahead.
Thank you, everyone, for the beautiful songs and uh, welcoming to your Vespers. So here we are for, I don't know if I'm the first to give the Sunderland studies this year. Uh,
Yes, in our group, you are the first.
okay, so our first Sunday Law 2026 study. It's a pleasure and a great privilege. I would like to start by asking all of you, like, why is this even happening? Uh, what's going on? Why are we here? I would like to hear your thoughts um, about what's even going on regarding the topic at hand.
Well, there was a shift, and this is Katja. So there was a shift in our understanding of the Sunday law, and now we are to understand that the Sunday law is tied to an election cycle, and I think that there's still confusion into which date the Sunday law starts, like which is the pointing date, yeah,
Okay.
of the Sunday law, the beginning of it. And yeah, I'll let the other speaks.
Yeah, who else have an idea or want to say what's going on? Why are we here and what's happening? I'm actually interested to know or to hear people who might be actually making the same question. Like, why are we so fixated on this topic? Who doesn't fully, I don't know, understand why is this being talked so much? Probably the Sunday law issue for you is totally clear or not at all, but you don't see the importance. Is anyone with that in mind? I want to get a sense of how each of us are uh, and move together in the same page. I don't know if I can ask people directly. I saw
Pedro.
Debbie. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Well, seeing as no one else is jumping in,
Please do.
um, I think always we have wondered how are things going to end? As Seventh-day Adventist, it was something that we just wondered about. And certainly reading the Great Controversy and so on, we probably all had different ideas and reading Spirit of Prophecy, just sort of thinking along a certain line. And obviously it had to do in those days with the Sabbath Sunday issue. But we realize now in our movement that a lot has to be set aside because methodology has shown it's led us in a different direction. It's not a Sabbath Sunday issue, and etc. And I think the importance of why we're meeting and why we're going at length into the Sunday law, talking first and foremost to strengthen us in methodology, because it has to be grounded in methodology. When we were all Seventh-day Adventists, we didn't use methodology. And so this is the um, correction of that, I guess, if I can put it that way.
Hmm.
And the second thing is, again, coming back to us wondering about how things are going to end. That seventh kingdom, in many ways, we were not able to really sort of unpack. I mean, Adventism sort of stopped in, 1915, 1920. I mean, there really hadn't been any new development of truth. And so, in a sense, everyone's guessing, right? In
Hmm.
Adventism, and just sort of watching signs, but predicating it all on the papacy and the Sabbath Sunday issue, and yet trying to figure out how is this all sort of fitting together with what's going on in the world. And so we are the group that has the methodology, has the wherewithal, in a sense, to correctly unpack. And yet we also want to be careful and do it so that we aren't making mistakes. And so I think that's the depth of us studying into the Sunday law and the seventh kingdom. It's really to help us all learn and grow in that process and understand methodology better, but also to ensure that we come together as a group, collaboratively, collectively, and are on the same page in understanding how things are going to unfold. This dispensation will be reflected in the next dispensation just simply because the patterns repeat. And even though probation will have closed, we'll still have methodology to lean on to navigate even that next final dispensation before the second advent. Anyway,
Thank you
just
for
my
that comment.
thoughts.
If I follow up with that and I ask you, well, let's take a little fractal of what you just said. The Adventist movement was this church raised by God, who had the most light. But you said at some point there was no more development of truth. You mentioned early 1900s, and then for over 100 years there was nothing. But if we say, let's say, for example, I think we could fairly say that since 2019, we know the event and the time, the period that we call the Sunday law wasn't about Sabbath or Sunday. We've known that for now 7 years. So since 2019, uh, so we understood it's not a Sabbath Sunday back then. Why do we need still more light about it? How do you see it, Debbie, or anyone? But I'm following up with your comment.
As a follow-up, so I want other people to weigh in as well, for sure, since I know you do.
Yes.
Um, so why 7 years from 2019 when we understood it wasn't a Sabbath Sunday issue? I think in a sense, perhaps we still had a few things that needed further tweaking. I won't say mistakes were made, but we still didn't have a complete picture, and therefore understanding the Sunday law. And we have continued using that phrase, even though it's not a Sabbath Sunday issue, but
Okay.
understanding the Sunday law and the whole timing of it and what it was surrounding, as Katya was saying. I mean, we came to understand that it had to do with the election cycle, but it's taken a a group effort, if I can put it that way. And some of it has been, as I mentioned earlier, this carefulness to not go down a rabbit hole or to not make incorrect um, well, decisions was the word that came to mind, but
Yeah.
to not be incorrect in our interpretation and hence in our application, because we're at the end of the world. It's serious. It's very serious now, and
And if
we don't want to
you if
be
you
making any mistakes.
yeah, and if you could briefly say, even if it's just your personal view, uh, what do you understand then the Sunday law to be? at the stage that we are, according to the light that we have at this point, at this moment.
Well, I believe the Sunday law was portrayed in a point in time, July 18th, 2024. But because it was the beginning of a dispensation leading up to close of probation, it also can be designated for the whole dispensation, the Sunday law dispensation as such.
Mhm.
And it incorporates some of those repeating patterns. I mean, that we're all familiar with, the unsealing of a message, the increase of knowledge, the formalization, the test, the Boston Concord Exeter, or rather shut door, I'll say, the Boston Concord Exeter test pattern, and that's it. It's pulling out all of the information that using methodology that is going to inform how we see each of those waymarks and compare and contrast it with, in essence, what's going on in the world so that proper application can be made. Not sure, Pedro,
And
if that answered your question.
no, it does. It does. I wanted to get to what aspect of what we've learned, and I will ask this to some of the other people, but what aspects of what we've learned gives you the most confidence that we are living in the Sunday Law dispensation and that it began in July 18, 2024? And anybody could also answer. Please feel free.
Sorry, I had thought you'd open it up to everybody, so I wasn't going to answer, and I won't. Pedro, I will let others come in.
Okay. So what others think? Want to get a sense of where we are and how is the group understanding our current situation.
I will say that it has to do with the development of the Seventh Kingdom and understanding its rise, and also how the transition had occurred in between the sixth and the seventh, because in the other dispensation between 2018 to 2024, we were focused on external event, but we didn't. It was also a focus on, I would say, the personal. So understanding equality, understanding homosexuality and racism and things like that. So although we could see the implication between the king of the north and the king of the south, um, we needed now and during the Sunday law, needed to refocus and understand what happened uh, in that dispensation, so 2019, with the sixth kingdom, that led to now the rise of the seventh kingdom. And I think that's probably why we are still trying to understand through Revelation 17, particularly, how this kingdom is developing its actions, and ultimately ultimately the fall. But right now, what we need to understand is, um, yeah, how did we get there, and what does it do? How does it operate? How this methodology and this ideology is taking place today, right now, or since the beginning of um, the election cycle, July 18, etc.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And anyone else besides Katia and Debbie would like to say uh, how they understand things are going on? Uh, someone doesn't fully agree, for example. I saw someone open the mic.
Hello. I
Hi.
think part of this whole thing is we're going away from what the spirit of prophecy says to a new idea, right? There's definitely you want to be cautious about what you're doing. I mean, we've said things in the past that may or may not have been correct. Uh, and so I think there's a caution out there for getting it right.
Okay. So I see at least this is the third time that something around cautiousness is brought up. I think what you're trying to say is that at least the movement is trying to be careful about how we arrive to conclusions, be sure that we're on the right track. That makes sense. Um, but I ask if July 18 was the Sunday law waymark for us. We of course know that we're talking about a waymark, but that waymark is the beginning of a period that we would also call the Sunday law period. Similar to what we do with the time of the end, we have a waymark for it, but we know it is the beginning of a period as well. Um, July 18th has been around for some months even before the date. So it was taught that it was the Sunday law. Um, the question would be, why wasn't it enough, at least for some people, including me? That study that we had, that prediction made by Elder Terry, why are we still talking about it and bringing up more stories to, I don't know, prove it? Um, why is significant that we didn't just say, okay, we believe 2018, sorry, it's July 18th because of QFMG. We also need to talk about what's happening in Revelation 17. Why does that matter? Why wasn't enough for some people? Wants to give a try. I could ask for people. I see Henry, Lucas, Gore, Raymond. Hey Raymond, how you doing? I saw Raymond recently in Brazil. I think we have Annabelle, a lion.
For me, um, I'm just thinking here because there is an election cycle, and the question was, okay, which election was it? That of the past? Was it that of the present? And what proofs do we have? I mean, and this is one reason I really appreciated, the international camp because we had gone through several different proofs pointing it to one particular category or one particular time period. So because of the methodology that we're learning to use, and because there are various different proofs, there are different understandings, different time periods, and yet it all evolved around the election. So trying to pinpoint it down to one specific area, and then also understanding, okay, where are we exactly at that point? So, just with the combination of it all.
And how comfortable are you that it was an election cycle and it was a specific election cycle?
Well, when the different proofs had come around, it wasn't just one thing. And when I seen, say for example, the rise and fall of nations, and also that of, yeah, like we had talked about, with Maximus, Fabius Maximus Gurgis, when the different studies had come out, it all kind of pinpointed also just into that one realm. And I mean, there are other proofs there.
Yeah. And
So,
and when the election, yeah, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
When the election cycle got sorted out in your mind, personally, and you got it, well, okay, it was an election cycle. The proofs make sense, and it had to be this one. Why July 18th? How do you currently say, no, I know it was July 18th because of this? The same way that you did, it was an election cycle because of the rise and fall of nations. You gave me a very good proof for that. How do you do it yourself for the actual waymark? Now it's specifically talking about a date. I don't mean to put anyone under the spotlight, but I I do prefer the interaction if that's okay. That one was for you, Henry.
Um, yeah, that is putting me a little bit on the spot because I haven't been always the best at some of these different things until they started coming out, and I started, like I say, I started recognizing it also at the last camp meeting, right? More so than at any other time. So, international camp. So,
Can I say something? Hi,
Yeah.
I'm on his. The characteristics of seeing that, how did Terry put it? RNC or something with Trump. Um, the fact that it's introducing, I think that wasn't that the time when it was introducing the seventh kingdom now coming into the spotlight opposed to the sixth kingdom. If I'm right. I'm probably wrong on that, but that whole time frame of July 18, 2024, with the announcement of Trump being the next president or running for presidency, of course we know now he won, and we're just seeing that characteristics of the beast or the dragon like symbology of the seventh kingdom.
I think it's fair to say that the date and the events happening were very significant, and we could say, wow, this is really a new way of, I don't know, new characteristic of the United States if they win. Uh, so that is fair, though I think we can agree that cannot be a proof for, well, it has to be July 18th um, because the way that the convention happened really has these characteristics. Like we're trying to find things that are real because it's not that they are not relevant. They did happen, and the components of the events surrounding it are they match to what we could say are the expectations for the seventh kingdom. But someone can come up and say, well, I saw the same thing in the inauguration, uh, or I saw the same thing, whatever, later, or even before, even the election day, or when they won. Like, what is it that is special about July 18th? And if I could follow up with you, uh, that you feel confident it is the Sunday law because of this, or that would be it, the characteristics that you laid out, or do you have something else?
I don't have anything else, but for me, I've recognized the characteristics. Like you said, it's a new United States. It's the direction they're going is new, not really new. We already had a taste of it back in 2016 to 2020. We already had an idea what Trump was like, and under his government at that time, they made a lot of mistakes, and this time around, he carefully chose his panel quite wisely, and had a complete agenda for this time of power in government, which of course we're seeing with all of is that 2025 thing, the
Hmm.
Project 2025, and then all the other stuff they're doing. So we're seeing a new United States that has shook the world, literally. The whole world is seeing it.
But
Go ahead.
even when they didn't take power in July 18th.
Okay, fine, but that's in July 18. That was introducing Trump as the next president because it was a running time period. So that leads to the election. So we see the election leading. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not describing it properly, but visually seeing it, that's what I recognize.
I think you are describing, at least to me, accurate depictions of things that can tell us, yeah, it sounds about right. Once I already had another, let's say, or a couple other solid proofs in terms of prophecy. So I'm stressing the point that yes, we can see things going on in July 18th, but we could pick and choose from various events, even in the same year or the following, that could tell, well, this is the arrival. This is the seventh kingdom. Uh, Now we are positive about saying it is July 18th, and we have two primary prophetic proofs for that. Um, and we've seen that it's been talked a lot lately, the topic about adultery. Do you have any thought about how adultery actually helps in this conversation? That one
Uh,
was the okay.
you're, are
Go
you
ahead.
asking me or everybody? Because I haven't been keeping up on Parmenter's adultery presentations.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I was a follow-up for you, but then I also want to go to other people who's following our conversation, so we can see we have a position. It seems that we agree on July 18th, at least from the people that I talked to. Uh, we are seeing several important aspects in July 18th, like the looks of it and the relevance, but I'm trying to get into the prophetic proofs to get there. Does anyone have a thought? I see other people. Please go ahead. Lucas, Annabelle, Raymond. There's Fire Tablet and Lion. There's KML. I don't know if that's you, Katya.
Yes, actually, it's my second device. Sorry.
Okay. No, it's okay. Thought Gore wants to have a go. I think it's important that we have this conversation.
If I can interject very quickly and maybe
Please,
then
please do.
ask somebody else to follow up. The first thing is that when we look at Revelation 17, we have these description of kings and a woman, etc., that allow us to know that we are dealing with entities, which is important when we look, first of all, at the election cycle, because there is, mm, we see entities, we don't see people, for example. So that help us to, um, how we say that? Sorry, I forgot the word in English, but to shorten or to focalize our thoughts not on certain dates, during that election cycle for the beginning of the
Like
Sundial time
to
period.
narrow down
Yeah, to
the
narrow down, absolutely. It helps
okay.
narrowing down that thought. And looking at continuing in Revelation 17 is understanding when this adultery occurs and what does it look like. And this is when there were the studies about understanding uh, what is the kings, what is a beast, what is a woman, and helping us to see that this uh, when do does when do they start this adultery? Can it
Mhm.
be done? Can it start before something, or should it start after the fact? Because when we speak of adultery, we see the action, but there is also that step before when we see that something is developing in the thoughts. So
Okay.
that help us to try to retrace or reconcile when we see the Trump administration, I mean, not Trump, but yeah, Trump having those thoughts and having access to the power before he can sit on the throne, so to speak. Uh, yeah, but I can let somebody else speak.
That's fine. Thank you for that. We're definitely gonna touch on the things that you mentioned. I don't know if anyone else wants to have a go, another comment or question.
Actually, I have a question, Pedro,
Yeah.
but maybe for next time because I have to rewatch the last presentation of Brazil. So, because if I understood from the last presentation when you guys were talking about adultery, and fornication, is that what we take into account is the action and not the thought. So I wanted to see how we can reconcile that with
Oh,
Revelation 17, because in Revelation, if we take that proof for July 18, we are thinking of the thoughts being portrayed first, then the action. But in
yeah.
the last presentation, it was clear that adultery is the action. So just for later on, maybe if you can touch base on that,
Well, if we have
if we have
time,
time.
opportunity, I would love to touch on that, which I find very interesting. So, what if before I start sharing my screen, I want us all to focus now and step back a little bit in terms of prophetic proofs. So, as has already been said, we had a view about the Sunday law that it's simply inherited from our Adventist background. That's all fine. Uh, we start developing our views and we get to the point where we understand prophetically and even historically that we're not going to have a Sunday law, that is not going to be a Sabbath Sunday issue, and that it might have even never be about Sunday and Sabbath. It's a separate issue. So we come to our time and we try to understand what is the Sunday law without having this Ellen White thinking about it. Because when we do, we always bring up we even call it Sunday law. So we always have this Sunday Sabbath controversy in our minds. And what I see beautifully happen, especially during the last 2 years, the discussions, the disagreements about the Sunday law. Uh, I, I, I I guess most of you know I had a different position than Elder Terry, than most people. So during all those conversations, one of the beautiful things that I think developed is that we now can even define that thing that we call the Sunday law waymark in a completely different manner. Uh, than we have ever done before. And we would have a conversation with the Seventh-day Adventists about Sunday law, and we would say, oh, yeah, that's the point when the sixth kingdom died, or is left behind, and the seventh starts. Like, who could have ever said that before? How come the Sunday law it's the transition point of two kingdoms? But when we look closely, well, it has to be the transition point between two kingdoms. It has to be the point when the current system that we were in, the current kingdom that was running the show, it's either conquered or destroyed or left behind or simply changed into something different. And now we are in a new phase of this nation that we call the United States, but prophetically it's actually a totally different kingdom that we call the seventh. So I find that explanation in itself quite beautiful. And we could say that we were never completely blind about this. I'm talking about Seventh-day Adventists, even, because our favorite chapter for the Sunday law, who can tell us what's the favorite chapter about the Sunday law as a Seventh-day Adventist, where we would go to talk about it in Revelation?
I think the one where we talk about the
13.
mark of the beast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
yeah. So both of you agree, Revelation 13. And that's exactly it. And that would be the favorite chapter of Ellen White. That would be the favorite chapter of any Adventist preacher who ever taught prophecy. Uh, and in the very chapter, it is said that something happens to this one single beast, but at the same time, it's portrayed in two different faces. When it is a lamb and then when it is a dragon. And we have quotes. We would use Ellen White, and when it speaks as a dragon, it's because it entered into its, ugly face. And now we can say, well, we are living under the Sunday law dispensation. So we even have that imagery about a kingdom that goes through a transition. Something happens, either it mutated or something happened to this kingdom, to this nation. So we have it in Revelation 13. But we go further than that because we are not regular Adventists. We are the final movement. And the same as Adventists in 1840, who had a favorite chapter in the book of Daniel. That favorite chapter, the one that they would speak the most was chapter 8, and then 8:14, and the 2300 days, etc. We also had as favorite chapter that we would talk the most, specifically chapter 11, beginning verse 40. So even in verse 40, especially verse 41, which we've always understood as being the Sunday law, verse 41, the moment when this entity called the King of the North conquers the glorious land. So even if we only take these two things that we've known for ages now, one, Revelation 13, which is a beast that changes from something uh, that seems positive, peaceful, and good, just to simplify it, the lamb, something happens to it and it turns into a dragon, we already there see there has to be something about a transition. So we pick the word transition. Now we must reconcile this with Daniel 11:41, where there's no transition talked about. Nothing that can tell us, well, this was one thing in one time, and then later it became something else. That's Revelation 13 imagery. When we go to Daniel 11:41, we see, no, this is actually a kingdom conquering another, because that's the topic of Daniel 11, kingdoms that conquer another, especially the north and the south conquering each other. So we have to reconcile what is happening in between our thinking of Revelation 13, which is the changing of this nation, of this beast from lamb to dragon. But then in a other favorite place to talk about the Sunday law is actually the conquering. So how is this conquering happening? If we reconcile it at a simple level, we have to accept, I'm going to use bad words, but it would be this nation, or, this nation's conquer itself. Something has to happen within the same nation, no external entity needed. Because in Revelation 13, it says that it turns from a lamb to a dragon. No external thing going on, no external interference. It just becomes a dragon. But then we go to Daniel 11:41, and it says that the king of the north conquers the glorious land. And we know the glorious land to be the lamb. And we know the king of the north to be, or at least I think we thought we knew, but we know it has to be this dragon conquers the lamb. And I'm mixing the symbols. It doesn't make any sense. It's actually illegal to do that, because that's what parables are for, to keep them separate. This is explaining this with this imagery, and this is explaining the other thing with this imagery, but it's both talking about the same thing. So a nation that conquered itself. But now we see the news, and I think Alison was saying, well, we can see this is the new United States that Trump is bringing up about. This is totally a new nation. And now the narrative actually makes sense. Yes, something internal in the United States conquered the United States and turned it into a different thing. And now our symbols and our prophecies start to make sense. Both the imagery of Daniel 11:41 and Revelation 13. Did I make everything more confusing, or someone has a question or even a comment so far?
It's clear to me.
Thank you. So I assume we are good. Now, what Katya was bringing up was Revelation 17. That would be the other chapter that we need to bring into the story that we never quite did before. We always, assumed that he was mostly speaking about the papacy. And yeah, we could try to talk about Revelation 17, and we all believe that is a heavy, loaded chapter with many things we could talk about. But then we are confronted with the truth that we need to reconcile the imagery of, in one side we have Daniel 11:41. This is a nation conquering another, the king of the north taking the glorious land. And when we step into Revelation 13, then we say, well, it has to happen within the United States. Something in the United States conquer itself. And that changes the nation, that changes the kingdom. And now we go to the imagery of Revelation 17, totally different parable, not supposed to mingle them, but we know that they are talking about the same thing. And we should be able to understand the reality of it. So I would like to now share my screen and talk briefly about it. One second. So we spoke about, let's put Daniel 11:41. This is King of the North conquering the glorious land. So we have to see a conquering going on in the Sunday law. Then we have Revelation 13. We could say that Revelation 13 clearly places a transition point, which is from a lamb to a dragon. So we have the dragon. And what we now, as movement, could explain to people in simple terms what the Sunday law is simply the point of this transition. We understand the transition is complex, there's more stories to it, we need more parables to explain it, but it is the transition point. And then if we look back to 1141, they would say, well, the Sunday law is the moment when this king of the north conquers the United States, conquers the glorious land. And I think we can easily see that both parables are useful, they are giving us light, but they're not good to tell us what is the specific point in time. We cannot simply say, yeah, the Sunday law is when the United States becomes really bad, like really, really bad. Someone could say, oh yeah, I saw that in 1991. And someone could ask, well, why? Well, the United States is so unilateral now, and they seem to want to take control of the world, and Bush is a bad person. I don't know. We know that Lamb Dragon, this transition point is not helpful enough at all to tell us when is that moment. When can we really say that this is happening? Uh, and that applies to 1141. But then we go to Revelation 17, and I'm mixing parables who I cannot directly place one upon the other. But what we've understood so far, so this is key, is that we are saying what we call the lamb, it's what in Revelation 17 we call the six. And what we call the dragon will now be the seventh. Sixth, seventh head, sixth, seventh kingdom. And then we quickly realize that Revelation 17 is more complex than the previous two, just by the fact that it has so many entities and symbols. And we asked ourselves, are we saying that the lamb is good? And in simple terms, yes, we are. We're saying good in this side, and then okay, and then bad on the other side. So we have good and bad. And we say, well, something was good before 1141. And what is it? The good thing is that the glorious land is still glorious, hasn't been conquered. And what is bad after 41 is that it was conquered. So we're good there. Then we have to say, well, then you're telling me that the sixth kingdom or sixth head in Revelation 17 is good as well. And that the arrival of the seventh is the bad thing. And once we get to that point, we need to ask ourselves, what is it that makes, and let's read it, this beast with seven heads, each head representing a dispensation, of these bad kingdoms, how can it be that the six is like the good among the seven kingdoms? We could quickly, yeah, we don't even have to read it. I think we all understand the imagery. I don't want to spend time with reading long verses, but we understand that there's seven heads. They're all in the beast. That is a bad, evil symbol. But if we're being consistent with the two understanding of the Sunday law that I'm laying out, which is Revelation 13 and Daniel 11:41, we can clearly see, well, the sixth has to be good, has to be a good moment. And this is completely not new for us. We could say, yes, that's the lamb. So the lamb has to be the sixth. Now we need to explain, what is it that makes the sixth good? What do you all think? What makes the sixth good? Using only terminology found in Revelation 17. We need to explain in this chapter, how is it that the sixth is good? What's good about it?
I got a question here. When we're
Yeah,
talking about the lamb, are we talking about the lamb as far as, okay, an entity with theocracy, or how are we looking at it?
entity with a theocracy. We're looking at the lamb as, in simple terms, this is the nation, and is a nation with, like any other nation, that it's the uh, most important, at least the one that prophecy it's wanting to highlight, uh, which tend to be the powerful nations that dominate the world. Either we call it Babylon or Medo Persia or any other. This lamb, it's a kingdom like all of the others. Of course,
The
its
reason
rules are different than many of the other kingdoms. So, yeah, go ahead.
The reason I'm saying that is that because when we're taking a look at the dragon, it has a tendency to speak. And so when it's speaking, is it speaking in a different type of a language, in a political form, or what is it that we can identify as it being a dragon in comparison to that of the lamb?
It's an oppression.
That's exactly the mystery that we need to solve. Like, what is it that makes this nation no longer be a lamb and now be a dragon? Because if we are able to find it, we're going to know when is the Sunday law. And that is basically like the great question. We have a lion, and then I think Whitestone, which I'm not sure who is. A lion, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to say about what is good about the Lamb. From Revelation 17, when we get to the sixth kingdom, we are told that there is not, the beast is not.
You're paralleling. I think what the line just said is, if I complete a little bit of this line here, it's saying that before the sixth, obviously, there's a fifth. And these are the last three, because there's only seven heads. And it is said, and I could put here fourth, third, second, and first. They're all behind in the past. And the chapter 17, in beginning with verse 8, it says that it was, that it wasn't. We're not going through the steps of how we know there wasn't. That tense is applied to the six, and it will be, this only can be the last, which is the seventh. It will be again. So it was, it wasn't for a certain period, and then it will be again. And this moment when it is not, I think is what Elaine is saying. Well, that's how we prove the six is good, because it's the only moment in the whole chapter that it says something was for so long, then there's a period that is not, but sadly it will be again. And that wasn't is the six. Yet we still don't know what is the element that makes the six to not be, if that makes any sense. Someone under the White Stone Foundation, you want to say something? Sorry, I didn't know your name. You can let me
It's
know.
Trevor
Trevor.
Pedro.
Sorry,
And
I'll
alien
fix that.
is Douglas speaking. But go ahead, Trevor.
Okay.
Once you put me in second there, I was thinking about it, and my answer was actually from Revelation 13, not from 17. So I don't know if it applies for what you're saying.
So you wanted to say why in Revelation 13 the lamb is good?
Correct.
Okay.
But if you're not looking for that, then I won't take you off track.
I mean, you will be adding to proof that the lamb is good. Of course, the actual animal that is chosen in the prophecy already tells us, well, it has to be good. Um, and then this is like this smoking gun that tells us, oh, so in Revelation 17, there has to be among the seven kingdoms, something has to be good. Uh, so that's the direction that I want to go, which is, well, how in Revelation 17 we know the six is good? The lion gives us, well, it's because it is the kingdom. Without going through the steps how we do this is not very complex. We can see, well, the present. Oh, I put wasn't. That's not. It is present tense. Is not. The present tense that says it is not in Revelation 17, it's the sixth. And the will be is the seventh. So that gives us a proof. Well, okay. What does it mean that it is not? I could assume that it is not bad, but we don't really have that. So I'm trying to find what else do we have in Revelation 17 that tells us the six is not bad because what would be the reason? And this is where you all bring something. What is it that makes the six not bad using only Revelation 17?
Um, I'm gonna give it a try.
Please
Hi,
do.
Pedro. I just joined a bit late. Apologies. But
It's okay.
um, so the mother of harlots and
Uh-huh.
abominations, I'm gonna point to that. So in the period that we have the is not, it's a period in which we don't have this woman riding the dragon. This is just um,
Uh-huh. That's
so
the
we
answer that
don't.
I was
So we
looking for. Yeah, please elaborate.
Yeah, so we don't have um and I'm speaking of the mother of harlots there as being the ideology that sits on the beast. So I don't know if I'm still on track there, but that's as much as I'm gonna say for now.
Perfect. So, uh, Maka, I hoping I'm pronouncing it correctly. You're saying that what will end up defining, helping us to find out what makes the six not to be bad has to do with the woman. So you're definitely bringing the entities, and that's what's interesting about Revelation 17. And Katja was highlighting that we have so many different elements that we can that we need to handle that they actually end up being, the pieces of this puzzle that that we need to put together. So if we say simply, well, Revelation 17 is the story of this beast that then is subdivided into 7 periods of that beast because it says 7 heads. And we say, well, during the first 5 heads, and I know it's a head, but I'm going to do a terrible drawing of a beast that is here. I'm going to put it with only one head, just so that we know we're talking about the beast. This beast was bad. That is clear. Because this is actually talking about Satan's kingdom, or the kingdoms of the world, however you want to phrase it. But the symbol is not complete because the symbol says that there's a woman on top. And I want to change woman for now just to the most basic of what it actually is. This is the way I like to see it. It's that the symbology is simply a human on top of an animal. That is the symbology, that is the very essence of the natural that is being brought with this symbology. This is a person that is on top of an animal. And once you get to that, we already can get to know, oh, I think I get what this symbol is trying to tell me. Because we know of animals that we sit upon. Who wants to give an example? The most obvious one would be horses. What else do we sit upon? As a natural thing. We're not saying, well, my kid sits upon my dog. That wouldn't be something that we actually do as a useful thing. Douglas?
Donkeys, camels.
Yeah. And then elephants. So there's a whole variety of animals that we sit upon, and these animals have actually conquered nations. Either if we talk about the horses or the elephants that we are so familiar with as well. So we
Even
can clearly see
camels
even camels.
have been used
So
in warfare. Yes.
so we know that there's a relationship going on. It is a relationship between an animal and a person. The person, and here it goes to what Maker was saying. Maker, you said that this is the ideology that sits upon the beast. Well, it's not simply the ideology because an ideology by itself can do nothing unless someone believes in it. So it is actually a person, and because a person has a brain and thinks and wants to accomplish things and have purposes and agency, a person holds uh, or believes in an ideology, and that's why we, at least in the camp meeting, the speakers defined it as the woman is an entity with an ideology. It's not the ideology, it is the entity. And this entity, of course, has an ideology. Like we all have an ideology. No one can ever say, no, I don't believe in anything. No, we all do. So persons have ideology, and we know that horses, camels, elephants do not have ideology. Horses, camels, and elephants or donkeys, you know, by themselves, they wouldn't do anything unless not, I mean, other than that, living, eating and going around. They're not really fulfilling any particular purpose like a person does. A person goes, oh, I need to take this kingdom, or I need to go to this place. I better do it in an animal that is stronger, faster, more powerful. So this is a relationship that we use. We take care of the animal, of course, um, but it provides us something. So there's a relationship going on. And when we know, well, this is the imagery of Revelation 17, at least it's actually one. I know there's many others, but I'm focusing on two in my studies primarily, is that, well, there's a beast and there's a person on top of it. meaning there is someone using this tool that is so powerful. And when we go from 1 to 5, it says that it was. So it is completely logical to say, well, when it is not, has to be the moment when the beast simply don't have that evil entity on top of it. And then we start thinking, okay, that makes sense. What makes the six not be what makes the six be the only kingdom that is not in the context of Revelation 17 is that it lacks the woman. It's not on top of it. But then it says, but it will come back. So we then take the same symbol and we say, and it will come back. And that's the moment when we say, okay, I get it. Remember where we were here? The Sunday law, now in Revelation 17 terms, because 1141 is, it's when the north conquers the glorious land. That is the Sunday law. Pretty vague, but that's what the symbol is saying. Then in Revelation 13, we say, well, Sunday law is when the lamb either becomes a dragon, or I don't know how to explain, but is now a dragon. And we say, fair enough. And then we go to the 17, and we say, well, is the moment when the 6 transitions to the 7, which is portrayed as when the beast will be again. Oh, then we say, well, actually, the Sunday law is when the woman rides the beast again. And when we get to that point, that's the I would say the sweet spot. It's like, okay, we have a beast and we have a woman. At some point, the beast is not with the woman, and then the woman comes back, sits upon it, and ride it again. I definitely need to know what the beast is, what the woman is, and I might just be able to say when it came back. Are you all following me so far? Any comment that any of you want to say, just or comment or question? Makeup?
Yes, I was just looking in my Bible. So, if I understand correctly, the the point at which the change occurs, we're talking about the lamb-like beast when it begins to speak like a dragon. Is that the transition?
Yeah, that would be the way that at least we mostly understood it. Like there's a point in time that this lamb now starts speaking like a dragon. Different than saying it always spoken, it always spoke like a dragon. Sometimes it did. We are separating from it and say, no, it is a lamb all the time, and then it is a dragon. It is one way to see it. And I would suggest that it would be the best way to see it. Even though we know the United States has had bad faces doesn't mean that it begun the last kingdom that is going to rule the world. It was a lamb, and then at some point it'll change, and it'll change forever, and it will be a dragon till the end. Please go ahead if you have more follow-up.
I do have another question.
Oh, just want to make sure that
Maka.
Maka finish her question or comment.
No, just making sure I was following. No comment.
Okay. Henry?
Okay. I'm assuming you're basing this all mostly on Revelation 17, verse 8. that about the beast
Hmm.
that was and is not and yet is. However, I'm just kind of wondering here when we're taking a look at Revelation 17, verse 8, it talks about the beast that is ascending out of the bottomless pit. What do we define then as the bottomless pit?
So, in very simple terms, I would say that basically the imagery or the text is telling us that the beast is dead. So I erased it. Like there's no beast. I didn't go through all the steps that I should have that were
So
done.
bottomless pit, you're just defining as being like a death or a sleep?
Yeah, we could say simply it's not there for this period, either because it was killed. We know it wasn't. Using Revelation 17, we don't have anything that says that it kills it. But how else it went to the bottomless pit? Something must have happened to it.
Well, I mean, I kind of mentioned it in one study there because I was just thinking there, that death is also defined as a sleep, and here we see the beast actually arising out of it.
Hmm. Great. One of the steps that I didn't go through that we did during the last ICM is that there's moments in Revelation 17 where it speaks separately about the woman, all fine. Then it speaks separately about the beast. I don't know if you all remember, but when it said, the speakers say, wait, woman, the best way to vaguely define it is entity with an ideology. And then when they want to define beast, do you all remember what they said?
Political institution with power.
And what else?
No, I did
That
have it,
has
but my
adopted the ideology of the woman.
yes.
Yeah, that adopted the ideology of the woman. So it adopted the ideology of the woman. Why we know this? Well, because the woman is pictured to us in one of the symbols, is pictured to us as sitting upon this beast. Then later on, when it speaks about the beast, it doesn't have to say the woman in the beast did this, the woman on top of the beast did that. Then it just continues saying, and the beast, such and such. We know to assume it is talking about the beast that had the woman on top. We know because of the evilness and the actions, we know it is speaking about the two things together without having to always separate them. It already did when it gives us the imagery. Then it speaks about the beast. So when it says that the beast was in the bottomless pit, it could well be just saying the woman went to the bottomless pit. I know it's kind of a leap, uh, but it's there. And that's when the third definition comes to help, which is, oops, head. Heads, there's no one on top of the heads. It is the beast, sorry, it is the woman on top of the beast. Now we know the beast has 7 heads. So if you sit upon the beast, you're sitting upon the whole body of the beast. But the chapter, it makes it a big deal to talk about the heads. Like the heads are something important that we need to understand by themselves. Uh, and students of prophecy, we are used to it. We go to Daniel 7, and then it's no longer speaking about the beast, but now speaking about horns, and ones are plucked uh, off, and and then another one comes from underneath. and takes other three out. So we know when sometimes this symbology moves from the body that we know to be the beast, and then it goes to the head and starts speaking about things that are going on in the head, like they were persons. And that's all fine. So we're used to it from Daniel. So when we go to the head, we know that the head, it has to have the same components as the beast, but there are seven. And when we go, well, from one to five, we know that the beast was. But we say in the six, the beast is not, meaning that it is in the bottomless pit. So how's there a six? Six meaning the head. How can I, take the head only and say, no, there's still a six head, but actually the beast is not there. So we know that if we try to be literal with the symbols, it is not going to work. So we would say, no, the beast is the whole kingdom from one to seven, and it is controlled by a woman. Good. Then from one to five, it is alive, this beast. In the six, it is not. But remember, six is the head. So the parable is forcing us to say the head is slightly different and separate to the beast, because we need to find a way when the beast is, we're told, is not, but the sixth head is there. That's when we say, well, the head is the same. It's a political institution with power. And we stopped at power. We stop there because we know the woman is not sitting upon the heads. It's seated upon the beast. We know that from one to five, these heads are heads that are indeed controlled by the woman. But because it says, and the beast is not during the six, then we say, well, the six has to be another political institution with power, but it is an anomaly that it doesn't have the the bad element attached to it. So it doesn't have the woman. The woman is not playing a role in the sixth head. So we could say, well, it is the head without the ideology of the woman. Are we so far? I think someone raised the hand. Was it you, Becca? Henry? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. So I think I shared the Bible references for what the symbols were last week, and the beast and the head were synonymous. You mentioned Daniel and all the other places. So a beast is a political power and a head is a political power. And we've spoken about uh, one woman. I'm curious if we're going in a direction where we're going to speak about the other woman when we're talking about this political power that exists in the sixth kingdom. Um, so not that the head doesn't have an ideology, it just has a different one. I'm curious if that's where we're going with this. So because it's a lamb, and that's a symbol of Christ, I'm just curious, is that where we're going?
For a time, we might not be able to get there or to get there in length. But it's good that you brought it up. I guess the others know that, at least I've heard, that we're saying as well that, well, it's not that there wasn't like nobody. It's just that the bad woman wasn't there, which is a good thing. But without, going there yet, we at least, Micah, we need to understand that we know that there's no good woman in Revelation 17, like at all. But that we are students of prophecy, being able to connect, the dots, understand all the prophecies, use methodology correctly, and then extracting or kind of like inserting something that is actually not there and still be correct to say, yeah, the head cannot be without ideology in itself. It had to have someone with an ideology running it. That's when the good woman symbol comes along. But we're not there yet. I think, Debbie, you also raised your hand.
Just want to say that the time is up. So after Debbie, we can close and then have a little break and come back.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, and Pedro, what you were just saying, that was part of what I was going to ask about. So I'll leave it there and perhaps
Okay, that's fine.
allow it's sort of what I was thinking of a little bit as well before Maka was saying what she said. In the sixth, really, there's a head there,
Yeah.
um, and it doesn't become a beast until the woman is riding on it. So the head is there. That is, like I said, I mean, the political institution with power, but there's no woman riding on it, or with what you were just saying, actually, it would be that there's a good woman on it. Like, as you say, it's going to have an ideology.
Yeah, we'll have to go through the
But it
steps.
transitions, as Elder Perminder was showing us. I mean, they can start out good, but it always sort of goes bad.
That
Like
that's
the
even an
woman,
even deeper
whichever
layer.
the well, that's it. Yeah. No. Okay. So I'll leave it there. Sorry.
No, it's fine, but it's good that you're bringing all those things. Uh, so we stop?
Yes, we stop and we will take back in 10
Okay,
minutes. Can
perfect.
pray and then, yeah.
So should I pray? Okay. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for the opportunity of studying together, trying to understand the truth that we have been given so graciously. Please bless us and continue being with us. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.